Welcome to CEO Interviews, a production of Goldcorp, in which we take the time to speak with small cap CEOs about what's going on in general at their companies. With us today, happy to have them for the first time, technically the second time, but for the first time on Cross River Ventures, Alex Klenman. He's a CEO of Cross River, trades in Canada under CRVC, and for our friends in the US under CSRVF. For those new to the story, that's going to be almost all of you. Cross River is a gold exploration company. They're focused on the development of top-tier exploration properties in the premier mining district of Red Lake, the Red Lake area. And why the Red Lake area? A couple of great reasons. This is why I'm going to love this interview. First, the Red Lake area hosts the largest mineral-rich greenstone belt on the planet. Over 200 million ounces of gold have been produced in over 100 years, hosts over 120 mines, more than 21 deposits with more than 3 million ounces each. Cross River has got 7 projects within the prolific greenstone belts of Northwestern Ontario, which host the most productive gold deposits in the world. On top of that, they got a world-class technical team led by Dr. Rob Carpenter. He's a former CEO of Kaminak, which some of you will know was acquired by Goldcorp for $520 million. So he's been there. He knows how to take the ball all the way in the end zone. And they recently raised over $2.6 million in a private placement. They'll be able to finance what they got to do. Their flagship McVicker property is situated close to the 3.8 million ounce spring pole deposit. It's got 2 mineralized trends, numerous 500 gram per ton plus gold samples, and drill permits for the property have already been issued. Alex, let's talk about this great company. Welcome to the show.
George, thank you. Always good to see you. And yeah, Cross River is an exciting company, and we're in a great phase. So good timing to introduce it to your people.
So you were already in a great neighborhood, and it just got better thanks to the takeover of Great Bear Resources by Kinross Gold for $1.8 billion. So not a typo there, guys. 1.8. Without a resource calculation, which to me is mind-blowing. So how good, generally speaking, how good is the neighborhood you're in, and how much better did it just get with this monster transaction?
Absolutely was a monster transaction. It brings a lot of attention to the district. We saw that in Newfoundland with Newfound Gold when Great Bear made their discovery, which is a generational discovery. Let's just be honest. It's the upper percentile for sure. But when they made that discovery, a lot of people came flying back into Red Lake. Red Lake was, pretty quiet there. It's been a historic camp with a lot of ounces pulled out of the ground over the several decades. But obviously a new discovery like Great Bear. Now they're a little south of Red Lake, but nevertheless, what we're talking about is Northwestern Ontario and the Superior Province, this wide swath of mineralized trends and greenstones that are very prolific.
You have a large project portfolio in Northwestern Ontario. Mm-hmm. Tell us why this area, maybe seeing is believing at this point. You can show us a slide.
Sure. You want me to pop that slide up? Is that a good idea?
Let's see that, because I think that slide's so powerful for everyone to see.
There we go. So obviously, here we are. These yellow badges, these are our projects. You can see the greenstone belts in appropriately green, thanks to our graphics maker. It makes it easy to see. The Uchi subprovince, this belt, this swath runs across Ontario into Quebec. You can see the majority of these belts have gold deposits, gold occurrences. Our projects are dotted throughout, and even south in these greenstones, south of the main belt. But Red Lake here, Pickle Crow here, Golden Patricia, which is just down the road from our McVicker project right here. That's 600,000 ounces at 15 grams per ton. So it's a very prolific area. And the great thing about it is it's relatively underexplored. If you don't have a Great Bear and you don't have a couple of other discoveries, there's not much poking around going on. And that hasn't been the case. We're lucky that this ground is relatively underexplored, and to grab a portfolio like we did in this area it was a really good strategic move on our part.
Yeah, and visually looking at it, that's why I want to bring this up, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. All those yellow dots right inside those greenstones and surrounded by other great mines.
Yeah, no, and that's where you want to be. You don't want to be an outlier. You want to be in an area. Perfect scenario is an area that has demonstrated and proven to be a mining friendly jurisdiction, to be a geologically friendly jurisdiction where you're getting a lot of gold. And that's the case here, as you mentioned in the opening, those stats. And obviously what you want is a situation where it hasn't been pincushioned. I mean, people are still picking up properties in the main trends in Nevada that have been systematically, poked for 30, 40, 50 years. So what are the chances of running into 1 million ounces down there? I don't know. Probably not as good as they are here.
And show us for a second Great Bear where it is, because they kind of did that same thing, right? They went into an area.
Yeah, Dixie's down here in this quarter. That's the Red Lake area proper. So Dixie's sort of south of Red Lake, obviously, but nevertheless brought a lot of attention to this area. But these belts stretching across here, there's more action. It hasn't just been Great Bear. There are others moving in and around here. Barrick has announced some JVs, and some other companies have moved in. There's been a little bit more activity, which tells you that I think the majors think that 2022 is probably going to be a good year for gold. Get positioned now.
And Great Bear kind of proved the point that you don't want to be right in the thick of things where everyone's been for. You can be just off. So they're just south. I see you there just east and south with four projects there. So
yeah, these are great projects.
What does Great Bear kind of going off the grid a little bit do for bringing more attention now to Cross River?
Right. Well, we saw an interest in our stock the day that was announced. Obviously, there's a little closeology going on where people say, "Hey, look at this! Great Bear got bought out for big money." Retail investors are starting to look at other companies in the area that have upside potential. And I think when you look at our checklist of attributes, we meet criteria that are important to investors.
All right. Well, let's go through some of those. So we'll take back the map here.
Yeah.
In mining and exploration, the people is paramount. Usually in small cap, you got to have money, but in mining especially, because it's expertise. If you don't have the technical expertise, you're done. You can have $100 million. If you got George poking holes in the ground, you're not going anywhere. So let's talk about the people that are leading the exploration programs.
Absolutely. Well, we have a phenomenal technical team, as you mentioned, led by Rob Carpenter, Kaminak, also Dr. Alan Wainwright, Lori Paslowski, and Dan McNeil. They're basically, we've got 2 PhDs and 2 masters running our exploration program. So a requisite level of expertise is there. These are people who've made discoveries, big discoveries, have seen those discoveries advance. And we're one thing you need people who've been to the top of the mountain, and so we're excited to have the tech team. They're doing all the exploration work for us, and it's a great relationship.
Yeah, what does it mean to have someone like Dr. Carpenter, who's actually sold something for an exit for $500 million plus? Because there aren't a lot of those in the junior space. No. So having someone on board that's been to the show, how big is that for Cross River?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, just from a credibility standpoint, but more so, the technical team I'm impressed with their methodical, strategic approach to exploration. They said, this is how we're going to do it. We have stuck to that over the last year. It's super, it's hard for retail to stay by that. I mean, we did a lot of data compilation. Did a lot of groundwork. We did a lot of things leading to drill phase. That's not always exciting for retail, particularly in the back half of 2021, which has been really tough in the gold sector. So we've lost some market cap, but they have stuck to their plan. We've seen it through, and I like the approach. I think it's the best way to do it. I'm watching in awe at how good they are at what they're doing, and now we're finally getting into the most exciting phase, which is drilling, coming right around the corner.
Well, and let's talk about that in a second, but I just want to add to that. If there's one trait I've seen in most, if not all, successful exploration companies, it's that persistence to stick to a thesis and see it all the way through,
Right.
despite the impatience that may be, going on around them. That seems like it's always been a common characteristic. And so
Yeah.
having this team on board says a lot.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, we came out of the gate, we IPO'd in 2020. We IPO'd into the best gold market we'd seen in, years. So we were near 2,000 an ounce. Our stock ran out of the gate on the acquisition of our projects. And then you look at we were kind of set up for this downward simply because we were going to be doing this data compilation, and then we were going to be doing sampling and
The
reconnaissance
non-exciting
programs.
stuff that you got to
Non-exciting
get done.
stuff. But if gold stays at 2,000, we retain market cap. Gold plummeted, the markets turned, and here we are. So it's a great opportunity for people getting involved with the story now. We're cheap, and we're closer to drilling than we were a year ago when when the stock ran pretty heavily out of the gates.
So let's talk about this. It's a pretty big drill program that you're going to start at your flagship property, and you've got the money behind it. So talk to us about timing, when you think it might start, how long it'll last, and even maybe some information on the drill targets themselves.
Sure. Well, we're going to be doing about a 5,000 meter drill program to start. Now get an idea. McVicker is about 12,000 hectares. So it's district scale. It's big. It's on the Lang Lake greenstone belt. So we control majority, if not all, of the structural components of the belt, which is what you want when you're looking for gold deposition, obviously. There's a ton of occurrences on the project. McVicker, just to retrace, McVicker was held essentially by BHP back in the 90s. After Bre-X and the scandal involved there, but a lot of these companies, the big conglomerates, failed on Canadian exploration.
And by the way, for new investors, Bre-X was an Indonesian fraud. It
Correct.
wasn't a fraud in anywhere near Red Lake or the Red Lake where
No,
Cross
not
Rivers,
at
but
all.
it damaged the entire industry irreparably for about 5 years. So companies bailed out on good projects.
It did. But what happened with the ground at McVicker is it fell into, a dozen different hands and continued like that for 2 decades. Where you get prospectors picking up ground and tooling around and other people doing other things in different areas, but no overall systematic designed approach to the ground. It was just piecemeal. So we came in, we got parts of it in an acquisition, we got more of it in an acquisition. Eventually, we got the entire Lang Lake belt, and we were the first ones to do basically a belt-sized belt overview of the ground there. And it's led to some really interesting data that's popped up. We have our sampling program this summer delineated about a 700 meter corridor south of the Cello vein. Now, the Cello vein is what you were referring to when you were talking about 500 gram samples. They were up to north of 800 grams. BHP did a 34 chip sample back in 1993 sampling program in a trench. They ended up, the average grade of those 34 samples was 28 grams per ton. That's the average grade. So obviously we know that Cello vein has got gold deposition and it's got it in a robust way. But sampling this summer and the reconnaissance, we're about 600 meters south of Cello vein is this Bearhead fault zone. And it's about a 700 meter corridor that we're going to start testing this upcoming.
And how happy were you guys to find that? It
was a bonus for sure. But that's what they wanted to do. There's no point in going into the areas that have already been established as being gold bearing. Those are good drill targets. For whatever reasons, they may or may not be priority targets. But to find more targets, that was the goal, and that's what we've done. So we've got the first drill program here of many to come because it's a huge project. There's a lot of ground. But this is the first one, and we're going to get going in Q1. So January, we'll have some news. We'll be drilling through, end of January, probably through March. It's a 5,000 meter program. We're going to hit a couple of the priority target zones and begin to drill test a big project that has had a new light shined on it thanks to the data compilation and the work our tech team has done over the last year.
How far does the $2.5 million take you that you just raised? Because
right.
A lot of people at home don't know how does a 5,000 meter program cost $2.5 million, $500,000? Give us an indication of how much dry powder you're going to have to really, explore.
No, we're going to be comfortable after this after this drill program, as an explorer, as a driller, we're in that situation where you have to raise money. You have to continue to raise money. We'll raise more money in 2022. We're hoping that it maybe comes in a better market with a better share price for us. But these are things we really can't control. What we can control is to continue to stick to our gun, stay on the plan, the strategic plan, to drill it the way we're drilling it, to get the data. And I think eventually you look around and you say, this is a big piece of ground. There's no deposit. We do have a small copper deposit on the project, I should mention, but at McVicker. But there's this massive project that hasn't had a systematic exploration program done on it. We're the first ones to simply realistically do that. So what's the end result? Well, we think there's ounces in the ground there. How much? We'll find out.
What's the goal behind this first 5,000 meters? Obviously, you're not gonna I'm not saying, I shouldn't say you're not. Most people don't think they're gonna discover, a massive deposit on the first 5,000 meters, or maybe you guys think you're really close. What's the real? Is it more probative, or do you guys think you're actually going to be drilling for gold?
Right. Well, we are looking for more mineralization. Obviously, listen, we're excited about the Bearhead Fault. That trend holds the Golden Patricia mine just south of us. The Golden Patricia, as I mentioned, 600,000 ounces historically at about 15 grams per ton. Closer to us on the same trend is two small deposits held by Artidon, an Australian company. And they're in the 5 gram range. So we're in a very, I want to say, prolific belt. We just know that it's underexplored and that our area needs to be systematically drilled. So this is drill testing. It's probative in a way, but we're looking for mineralization. We're looking for new areas that are going to be priority areas for us moving forward.
You talk about a checklist that investors should look at or should have when they're evaluating an exploration company. What is the checklist, and what does Cross River check off on the checklist?
Sure. No, I love it because it's easy to digest. Look, we're pretty early in our capital structure. So, 35 million shares after this placement, we're closer to 45. So we're still relatively early in terms of our capital structure. That's always good to get in at close to the ground floor. We have, as you mentioned, a world-class technical team, some of the best people in the business. We have district scale land packages in areas that have been proven, but haven't been, pin cushioned to death, where, you wonder where the ounces are. So we have this great little, dynamic where there's just enough work done to tell you there's gold, but not enough to make you wonder where it is. We're lucky. And then you get into just the cycle. Are we going to have a good gold run? Inflation is here.
Yeah, just seeing that clear as day.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to like gold moving into 2022. So, early stage, world-class tech team, great projects, big projects, and more than one project. I mean, as you mentioned, we have 7 different projects. We're not going to work all 7 of them over time. We're going to probably concentrate on the top 1, 2, or 3, and then we'll look to farm out the rest, build sort of a project generation model where we're sort of a hybrid between an explorer and a project generator, so that helps us mitigate dilution down the line. Maybe we can earn income from those other projects and help us maintain our listings and legal and audit and accounting and all that. That can be paid for out of the revenue streams we generate from our other projects, as opposed to doing everything via equity finance. Yeah,
that's a smart way to go. And look, raising $2.65 million, the market obviously agrees with your plan and your thesis.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't, in a perfect world, we would have done it north of the price levels we're at. But as I mentioned, we don't control all of those things. You take what you're given.
But that's always the case, right, Alex? Even if you're double where you are today, every CEO says, "Oh, we could have done a little more north," which is good. It's a good trait to have. But
yeah, and you get consternation from retail and others basically worried about dilutive finances. But you have to do what you have to do to get the drills in the ground. There's no doubt about it, because we could do nothing, but we're not creating value. We raise money, we put the money in the ground, We have a pretty low burn rate. We're not crazy spenders. We're focused on drilling. We're focused on exploration discovery, and that's what we're going to do. And that's really what we've been doing for the last year.
And let's remind everybody that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Great Bear, sold at $29 per share. But if you go back and look at his chart 3 years ago, it was trading in the pennies. So right. I'm sure there were some investors back then complaining, oh, why are you doing this more dilutive financing? You should do it at a higher price. But my theory, and you tell me, Alex, my thesis has always been, if you think you've got something great, try your best not to dilute as much as possible, but get the damn money, get into the ground, right, and find what you can find. Because today, you're not going to find one shareholder say, $29 a share is pretty good. But, if it wasn't for that dilution that Alex did 3 years ago, it would have been $34 a share or something. Right. Bottom line is, get the money and get to work.
No, you're right. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was one of those Great Bear shareholders. I had people that I knew who recommended it. I think it was 60 cents a share. I bought it. And I don't know, I lost patience. I sold at 90 cents a share and never really looked back. But now, sure, you think about it. Patience is a virtue. It's a hard thing in the markets, particularly nowadays, where you think everybody wants instant gratification. But with an explorer, Cross River, for example, you meet a lot of the criteria that you want to look for an early stage investment. Let it ride. Buy in now. It's cheap. Let it ride. Let us drill. Let us develop the projects, and I think you'll be happy.
And the most important part for you is you may be impatient with other investments, but when it comes to Cross River, you guys have been very patient. You're doing all the things that need to be done, all the, like we said earlier, the non-exciting stuff, the non-glamorous, in order to get yourself to this position.
Right. So everything. You need to go through the steps, and that's the most impressive thing with our tech team is they've done that. They said, well, we're going to do it this way, and we've done it to a T. So we're excited. Get the drills in the ground and begin that process. 2022 will be more about drilling than anything else.
Well, you're on the launch pad now, right? Everything gets set up. Like I said, all the non-glamorous work was done. The money's at the table. The targets have been identified. And now it's just a case of starting drilling in January, right, Alex?
Yeah, we think so. I mean, things are in flux, obviously, but January we'll be prepping in January for sure. Whether the drills are running in that third or fourth week remains to be seen. But we're cashed up, we're permitted up, we're ready to go. It's out of my hands when it's actually going to start, but we are drilling.
Well, can't wait to have you back as soon as drilling starts. And then we're going to have that cadence of some drill holes, some assays, some drill holes, some assays. So that's going to be fun. But in the meantime, hey, thanks for what you guys have done to set up the company, to get it to this position, to take a real great shot at this. I think you guys done an amazing job, and can't wait to have you back to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And why don't you just book me in right now for mid-January?
All right, January 15th. Okay. I love the confidence.
Yeah, no, let's go. Let's get.
Well, great, Alex.
We're gonna be happy to talk about it. It's exciting for us, and it's just the beginning of the next phase for Cross River.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, to Alex Klenman, he's CEO at Cross River Ventures, CRVC in Canada, CSRVF in the United States. For those of you who want to start your due diligence because you like what you heard, two ways to do that. First, get to the profile page on the Goldcorp, where all of this is nicely segmented and laid out for you to understand that good 1,000-foot level, and then do your deeper dive due diligence from that point. Click right over the Cross River website, do your due diligence. They've got the cash, they've got the people, they've got the projects, and they've got the neighborhood, and now it's just getting going. So do your due diligence, guys. 12 months from now, don't say we didn't tell you so. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Goldcorp small cap video.